used to seem so clear. I'm finding I can't do this on my own. I don't know where to go from here. As long as I know that you are near, I'm done fighting.
My name's Bryant Morgan, and I'm not perfect.
I will trust in you. Never failed before.
The age of 2 or 3, I really can't remember, to be honest with you. My parents divorced, so I grew up in a split home. But growing up, I always wanted to try to fix their marriage. Always wanted to try to make things work for them, so that we could have a family, be together. And it never happened. God was never really talked about in my family, not at all, really. We weren't religious. We never prayed before meals unless it was at a family dinner like Thanksgiving or Christmas. That was about it. I was left at the house a lot by myself. I would always take care of myself. I was always the one that had to take care of the house, make sure it was right, whenever my dad got home or whenever my mom came home. And I knew how to cook when I was pretty young. And I was a master chef at ramen noodles when I was like age 9. I just learned at a young age how to just become self-sufficient, to take care of myself, be on time, and make sure everything's in order, make sure everything's in place. My dad, he was a teacher, but he decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and he became a bartender. He loved being around people, and he loved getting to know them, and I followed a lot in his footsteps. So I spent a lot of times in the bar. I learned so much about people. I learned about real family, relationships, people that go through hurts and troubles. I learned that there was family outside of what we call general family at home, that there was so much to learn about people, and I grew to love people no matter who they were, no matter what status they were, no matter how heavily they drank or if they didn't drink a whole lot. I just learned to love people at a young age, and I learned not to really judge so hard people, because we were all the same. We all wanted to have a family. When I was growing up, baseball was life. That's what I loved. That's all I thought about and dreamed about. I always wanted to be a professional baseball player. And I love baseball because baseball, I could be around friends and the teamwork that it involved. I loved the camaraderie. I loved all that. But I also loved seeing my parents together in the stands, when I would play. It was awesome. I loved having that feeling like when I would hit a double or something and I'd get on second base and I'd look in the stands and there would be my mom and my dad, kind of sitting close together. Not together, but, just talking about it, looking at each other, smiling, and just having a good time. It was awesome. I ended up having the opportunity to play in college, which was really awesome. I got to fulfill that dream of being in college and playing ball. I never thought about God when I was playing baseball. I never thought that I needed him. When I was pitching, sometimes I would ask him, hey man, if you can just help me strike this guy out, that'd be awesome. And that's about as close as I ever came with God. I remember telling my dad that I wasn't going to play baseball anymore. There was a bit of disappointment, but I knew that I couldn't play anymore. And he'd always had that dream for me too. He always wanted me to do good. I never drank until I was 21. In fact, and that was about the time that I started to jump in to drinking and just going out to college parties, going out and doing the things that I always thought you were supposed to do in college. You grow up and you see people in college and they're drinking and partying and living it up, and that was me. I did that for a good while, and it was just so empty, me doing that. I remember I could just be drinking sometimes and just looking around at other people and just thinking, man, this is so useless. There's got to be more to life than this. I can remember distinctively sometimes I would wake up in the morning after a long night of partying, and there'd be people on the couch, beer cans, bottles everywhere. I would get up so early, like right when the sun would come up. And I can remember either driving back home or driving to Hardee's or just going and sitting on the back porch and looking at that sun coming up over the horizon and just thinking how beautiful it was and how there had to be something so much more than what I was doing. That's when I knew that there was definitely a God out there, and I just didn't know him. I didn't know him at all. After college, I think it was God just sent me an angel, and her name was Brooklyn. Brooklyn was sent to me, and we became great friends. We fell in love, and we were dreaming of the future. We had dreams, and our dream was to have a family. I knew that where she was at the moment, she couldn't have that. And she needed to go back home and be with her family and become a nurse, because that's what she always told me she wanted to do. And it was just perfect timing, because I was getting out of school and I was wanting to come back home. So we split. We parted ways, but we kept in touch. I went home because I needed to be home. My grandfather was doing bad. He had cancer. And I saw a lot of things, when I came back home. I saw how things have changed. I saw death for the first time, really, my grandfather dying. And I knew then that life was not just about having a good time and partying and living it up, and then you die and you're gone. I knew it was more to it than that. When I saw my grandfather and all the family around him, I knew that there was more. I would get to see Brooklyn occasionally, but always wanted to have somebody to talk to. I tried to fill that void, by going out to bars and kind of being in the nightlife, meeting up with some of my college buddies and just living it up. That's what I was doing. I was just thinking to myself, well, here I am. I've got through high school. I've got through college. I've got, a good job. So I deserve to go out and just enjoy life and spend my money, and that's what I did. The time was pretty tough for me because I wanted to be with Brooklyn. I wanted to have a friend that I could be with. And I ended up making some bad decisions. In fact, I broke up with Brooklyn for a short period there, and I even started dating this other girl who I thought was right for me. I just knew that this whole time I was with this other girl, like I was just crushing Brooklyn and I was dream. And I can remember Brooklyn being so upset. It was tough. And I wanted to be back with her. And I just remember being so tore up one night after I talked to her on the phone. And I just remember how she wanted to not even talk to me, not even be near me. That she said she felt so empty. And I can remember going up to this little church parking lot. And this is so silly. But I can remember going to this little church parking lot and they had like 3 crosses up there. And I pulled in the driveway and I just cried for hours. And I cried and cried. And I called Brooklyn and I told her everything that I had been doing, this new girl I had been seeing, and I laid it all out on the line. And I can remember looking up at that cross and I could feel God's compassion on me. It was like He just felt so sorry for me, that He knew I was lost, that was the moment that I was really, truly broken, and I knew that I had to change something. Something had to be different, that I had to stop relying on myself and what I thought was great, what I thought was wonderful, and I had to get Brooklyn back. And so that's what I did. I drove that night all the way to Charleston, spent the night in the truck, and I know Brooklyn had like a couple days off and she was in school, and I knew if I could just get my arms around her and hug her and just tell her that I'm all for her, it would be okay. And God gave me that chance. He gave me that second chance to be with her, to have a family. God gave me a second chance with Him. He's given me numerous chances to be His, salvation-wise, to have a relationship with Him. But He also gave me another opportunity to be with the woman of my dreams. All my life, I had been in control. I'd always been the one that had to be in the right place at the right time, and make sure my clothes were decent, and make sure I got a college degree, and that's what I did. That's what I went after. And I've never let God have control, ever. And I just knew that I needed to change something, and I knew that I needed somebody to lift me up out of the depths, lift me out of the depths of hell. It says in Psalms 30 that He will pull you out of the depths, or you have pulled me out of the depths of hell, and that's what He did for me. I can remember, after getting stuff together back with Brooklyn and really just building on that relationship, and trust me, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. I just remember there were some girls at work that had these CDs that they would give me, Bryant Morgan speaking. And I started listening to them, going back and forth from Charleston and then to Burlington, because I would go see Brooklyn about every month. And I just remember thinking, man, there is some truth behind this. There's some honest truth that really applies to my life, things that I never thought of. And it was just so crazy that here was Brian talking about Jesus, talking about somebody that I never knew. Here I am, close to 30 years old, thinking I got the world in my hand, thinking I have it all figured out. But truthfully, looking back, I didn't have anything figured out. Nothing at all. I never knew the gospel. I never knew about what Jesus did for me. It's just crazy to think that somebody would send their own son to die for me, for the stupid things that I had done. I never really knew until I got to that point where I was broken. And Jesus started to show me who He was. And I slowly was falling in love with Brooklyn even more and more. And I was falling in love with Jesus. And it was the sweetest, most incredible thing that had happened in my life. And it still is today. Well, I knew that I wanted to help out high schoolers. Brian was saying, that if you're going to be a follower of Jesus, then you can't just obtain information and not do anything about it. So I wanted to put my faith into action. So I wanted to be a teacher. I decided, hey, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to get involved with the lives of young people and help them realize their potential and their dreams. Because I think a lot of students don't have that encouragement at home, and that's what I wanted to give them. And so I came up with this masterful plan of being this teacher and a coach, and I knew that I needed to work with high school students because I never really had. I thought of the student ministry at the Lamb's Chapel, and I knew some people that knew Billy, and so I gave him a call one day, and I called him and I said, hey man, I just want to work with students. And looking back now, I was thinking, man, this would be good for me to have on my resume. This would just be an excellent thing that I could talk to principals about when I get my job. And that's just the worst heart to have. I mean, if you're going to go into ministry, you need to have a heart for something, not just because you want to get something on paper that looks good. Jesus changed my heart. He said, look at these people. Look at all these students that you're starting to have a relationship with, that you're starting to grow with. And he taught me that, I wasn't there helping out these students just so I could put something silly on my resume or just so I could talk about it with the principal, but I was there to help his children in his church. And he taught me that it wasn't about whatever my plan was, my masterful plan of being a teacher and chasing after that dream. He taught me that he's the one that's in control. Just remember pushing so hard to have that dream come true, and all I kept running into was brick walls. Being a teacher was just not happening for me. And I remember being so frustrated, and I can remember taking out a little snippet that I printed off of work of Proverbs 3:5 that says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in everything that you do, give thanks and praise, and He will direct your paths. Just remember putting that on my mirror where I change the bedroom and just looking at it, just staring at it for so long, just thinking, how can I put my trust in somebody and they're going to direct my path? I just never could grasp it because I was so used to being in control in my life that everything had to be in perfect place, and I had to make sure that I was on time for this, make sure that I finished this paper at this time, make sure that I talked to these people, make sure that I was doing the right thing by this world's standards. And I wasn't even thinking of Jesus. But at this moment I was thinking, man, trusting you with all my heart, that's so crazy to me. But you know what, I'm gonna give it a go. And as I was working with the students, and as I'm doing it now, I've come to realize that the more that I put trust into God for everything that I do, I mean, I still have to direct some portion of my life. I can't just wake up and lay in bed and say, God, take me where I need to go. I still am working to make things happen, to do great things, but God controls everything that I do. Jesus is who I think about all the time. When I wake up in the morning, He's the one that directs my life. He's the one that controls my every thought. And it's not just because I know that I need Him, it's because that I love Him. I'm in a relationship with Jesus, and it's the sweetest thing that's ever happened in my life. There's a story that I read about Jesus and His disciples. It's in John chapter 6, verse 16. And it talks about Jesus. They were just finishing a big ministry on, I don't remember what part of the land it was, but it was becoming night and the disciples were waiting by the shore. And they were waiting on Jesus to come. And it got dark, so they decided, you know what, let's just go ahead and go without Him. And so they did. They got into the sea. They rowed out about 3 or 4 miles. And it got dark. It got real stormy. I mean, it got real stormy. And these were, seasoned fishermen. And they were fearing for their life. And they couldn't get to where they wanted to go. And they saw Jesus walking on the water. And they were afraid of Him. They were afraid of, I don't know, just in amazement, I guess, of seeing a man walking on the water. And they invited Him in the boat. They said, Jesus, please come in this boat. We need your help. And the last verse of that story, it's nothing grand or special, but it just hit me so hard that the last sentence says, they got to where they were headed, where they were supposed to go. They got there. And for me, it's just such a story of my life that when I started off on this journey, I thought that I could do it myself. I thought that I could make it to the other side without Jesus, without Him at all. I mean, I was a seasoned fisherman. I was a seasoned human being, I guess. I don't know. But I got out to the middle of the sea, the middle of this world, what the world tells you. And I was lost. I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to be. I didn't know how to get to the peace that surpasses all understanding. I didn't know how to get to the joy that people speak of when they speak of Christ. I didn't have a clue. And even when I became a Christian and when I was baptized, I still was trying to control my life. I was still trying to be a teacher, still trying to make my plans work. Now that I got God on my side, I'm going to make it work. But that's not how it works. He's the one that directs your paths. He's the one that shows you the way to go. And I've surrendered to Him. And it's made all the difference in my life. I have so much joy and so much peace, so much love for other people. I'm getting to the place where Jesus wants me to be. I don't know if I'm there yet. I mean, I would say that my life is pretty good right now. I have a beautiful wife, a beautiful home. My family's great. I have so much joy in my heart. So much joy. I have peace in my heart. I don't worry like I used to. I don't think of where am I going to be tomorrow? Where am I going to be next week? Where am I going to be 5 years from now? That's so gripping. You become just to where you can't even move if you think that way. But I freed myself. I said, Jesus, take my life and do what you want with it. Because you obviously know better. And now He has put this love in my heart. And I love people. I always grew up loving people. but as a Christian, I started to judge people, and he's quickly fixed that. He showed me that, hey man, you remember those people in the bars? You remember all those people? They were just like anybody else. And we all need that love. And I just think that my life is so much better just because of Jesus. He's taught me to love him more, but to love other people too. Jesus is everything to me. Everything that I want in this world is for his glory. And I thank him for saving my life. I thank him for pulling me out of the depths of hell. It says that Jesus said that he is the resurrection and the life, and that those who are dead that come to him will come alive. And I believe that because that's what he's done for me in my life.
Can you help me find it? Can you help me find it?
My name is Bryant Morgan, and I'm not perfect. My name is Bryant Morgan, and I'm not perfect. Can't you see the t-shirt?